And here we go. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Downtown Racine Small Business Experiential Learning webinar today. I am Sarah Capellish. I work for Gateway Technical College, and for those of you at Academies of Racine with RUSD, I am your convening organization, and I do business engagement for the Academies of Racine, and I work with your lovely coaches here that you see on the panel with us at Jennifer, Carrie, and Paul. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to introduce Kelly Cruz. Thank you so much. I wanted to say welcome to Kelly. Thank you very much for collaborating on this project with us. Kelly is with Downtown Racine, and she helped myself and Tim Mason, who will be logging on a little bit later. And we put this panel together. It stemmed from an idea that came from our academy coaches of showing our students another example of businesses within our community. So you will notice our panel, our attendees today are also our teachers from the Academies of Racine in the business, marketing, accounting, and culinary pathways. And they're going to be listening in today so they know when they're teaching these pathway courses, what you as business owners go through and do every day here in our community. So I am going to first have everybody introduce themselves. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the tiles across my screen so I don't lose track of you. So Tim, you are actually in my top corner. So if you would like to go first.
Tim Ryan, yes. And I'm with Mount Royal Property Management in downtown Racine. And I'm actually from California. And so I can tell you a little bit about that and how I run a business in Wisconsin from California.
Thank you. And Kelly, if you, I know I kind of introduced, but if you'd like to introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do with Downtown Racine.
Sure. Yeah, I'm the director of the Downtown Racine Corporation, as well as the bid district #1 bid manager, and then also a Racine County board supervisor as well. So play a couple different roles when it comes to business and community and economic development.
Thank you. And then Tony.
Yes, Tony Begonia with Uncorked in downtown Racine at 240 Main. And I'm also involved with the DRC in many different projects and also run the First Fridays organization.
And Anthony.
Anthony Picaro from downtown at Indian Motorcycles of Racine in the Nash. Also in Mount Pleasant, we have Picaro Ford and Picaro Mitsubishi. I just cycled off the Downtown Racine Corp board. So very familiar with downtown and its happenings there.
And Tamara.
Hi, I own the Maple Table. We're a full service breakfast lunch restaurant in downtown Racine, and I'm also on the board for the Downtown Racine Corporation.
Thank you. I'm hoping that we actually had Megan from Reef Point that also was on our panel today. I'm watching to see if she's able to log in, but we'll add her on if she gets in here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to ask our business owners some questions to start to moderate before we have the rest of our attendees. Just so you know, the attendees that are on this webinar, you can use the Q&A chat box, or you can or we're going to be monitoring the actual chat box. But the question and answer section, you can type your questions in and they actually get logged in. And my academy coaches here will help me moderate that box and watch for those questions. But I am going to start with moderating a few questions for all of our panelists. So we're going to go in the same order again, because you're in the tiles across my screen. So we're going to start with the first question is, what is the path that you took to small business ownership? So Tim, you are first.
The path. Okay. Well, boy, that's a good question. I guess it started with learning a trade. I worked for people. I worked for my brother-in-law in construction. And I think when it comes to, starting your own business, there needs to be a start. So whether it's, education on the higher level or, going out and getting a job, and probably both. But, that foundation, getting a foundation of seeing business and working with people. And even when you're working with somebody, your boss can tend to be your mentor. You can learn a lot from everybody in any organization. And I think maybe for me to make that step, when I was working for people, I was looking at the systems and I was looking at the business owners and kind of treating them like mentors, even though they weren't really mentoring me, but I was taking that. So I guess that's how I, saw how other people do things. And the entrepreneurial spirit is, something you can develop or have, or, or maybe not. So, owning your own small business is not for everybody. But that's why I think when if you get some education and you get out in the workforce and you learn, you'll get to that point when if you want to, do this. For me, that was for sure. I knew I wanted to go and have my own business.
Thank you. And Tony, what would you say was your path?
Well, my path began in the service when I joined the Navy and started working for customers and trying to satisfy customers. Then I got into computer services, and I worked for a computer company, and then I worked for Case Corporation, and that was all doing service again, and always learning something, always looking beyond what the obvious was and trying something new. Some failures, but many successes. If you don't try, you never succeed. And you can quote me on that. But when I got into my own business, I retired from the computer industry and took all the knowledge that I learned in servicing my customers, and now own a wine store where I service customers. And I've always had to continue to learn and also adjust. And the key word over the last year has been pivot. And that is something that I think I have succeeded at, but I'm still trying and still learning as we go. And you've got to be really committed to looking at what you know and trying to improve it, and use your mentors. As Tim indicated, it could be a fellow customer, it could be a fellow business owner. You need to continue to be involved in lifelong learning.
Thank you. Anthony, what would you answer to say your path to small business ownership?
Basically, I've had two jobs in my life. One was I worked at a bowling alley for 5 years. And a little bit in that time period, my brother and I are partners. He started off in the car business in 1979. Kind of had his hopes and dreams, and he kind of started off. And while I was going to college, I kind of joined in because he wasn't really as good on the business side. I had a little bit more business skill set than what he did. So that was kind of the joining of it. And then I learned the automotive industry, but literally we started with 4 cars. One of the neatest things I think about it was, it's like, you can't always start at the top. We have the saying that there's only 2 people that start at the top, that's grave diggers and well diggers. So you have to kind of work hard, put in the sweat equity, 12 to 15 hour days, every day. Saturdays wasn't for sleeping in. I remember going down to Illinois, picking up cars that were taken in on trade at 11 o'clock at night and thinking nothing of it, and driving them back home. I can't tell you how many times I got pulled over by the police because it's, what are you doing in this car dealership picking up cars? And that's what we had to do in which to survive, because your time is what you're willing to put into it, and how hard you want to put in your own time, dedication. As Tony says, some things were losers, and that comes with the territory. You just have to kind of believe in yourself. You got to keep on grinding. You got to keep on trying to figure out a way, what you can do for survival. All of us kind of experienced that in this past year. We all had to make adjustments. there isn't anybody that can say, we just ran the way that we normally did, because it didn't exist. But anyway, so we actually took our phone from home and plugged it into the wall. That's how much money we didn't have. But anyways, we just continue to plug away, work hard, be honest, be straight, reinvest, and keep on growing and growing and growing, gaining trust with people. The more that people gain trust in you, the better you'll do. And you got to stick with it, you know, and just keep on growing. And we just kept on adding a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Each success would lead to another opportunity. And basically that's why we're at 4, kind of stopping there, but that's why we're at 4 businesses right now. So.
And Tamara, how can you describe your path to small business ownership?
For me, it was both my husband and I have come from our parents being small business owners. So my father had done commercial property development and had restaurants and bars throughout his career. So growing up, I was always able to, you know, run around, hang in there, play there. And my husband, his father's been in the restaurant business as well his whole life. So he literally, from the time he was 2 years old, grew up inside a restaurant. So for us, when we got older, we both stayed working there and went to school. We graduated, got our master's degree. My husband actually was a nurse by trade. And we just kept finding ourselves back in the restaurant industry. And when we were married, 8 years ago is when I started working for his dad, and he took us under his wing and pretty much explained to us a whole other side of the operation, the business aspect of it, and mentored us. And we knew that one day we would open up our own place. We just didn't know when. It was kind of down the road when our kids were older. And when we moved to Racine 3 years ago, we literally walked right past where our restaurant is now and saw the community and the city and just what was happening down here. And we were like, now's the time to do it. And it was much, much sooner than we had planned or hoped for, but we wouldn't have changed a thing. It's been just a blessing being here, and this past year has definitely had its challenges and has, you know, made us brainstorm and come up with how to operate this business in a time where I don't think any restaurant has ever had to operate, you know, with the restrictions and things we faced. But I don't know. I mean, we've just kind of been in this our whole lives, and it's in our blood, I feel like.
I do believe entrepreneurship they say you're not born with it, but I think some of us are.
Yeah.
Thank you
Definitely.
so much. The next question I have for our panelists is, what factors contributed to you to choose downtown Racine? Tim, if you would like to go first.
Me? Well, mine's a maybe kind of unique story, that because I'm from Los Angeles, California, and actually there's a concept that I follow of doing real estate investing where we follow the jobs. And actually it was Foxconn, the announcement of Foxconn, however big and small, it's huge for us, because look what's happening to downtown, look what's happening to all of Racine, and it's growing just amazing, even during COVID. So yeah, that's really what brought me. And, you know, this is my not my first out of state market, but it's kind of following that economic that there's going to be growth here. And somebody asked me one time, you know, what if, and this was like maybe a year ago, what if Foxconn doesn't happen? And there's all these stories about how many jobs and how many not. What if it doesn't happen? My answer was, it's already happening. And, you know, the spark has been lit. So that's really what brought me here. But I'm similar, like what Tamara said, when I walked through downtown Racine, and I could have gone to Milwaukee, Kenosha, you know, different places, but I fell in love with downtown Racine, and such a great place, so much potential. They're just, amazing anchors like SC Johnson and things like that, and gateways right in downtown. And so, just everything I saw was, told me this is the place, and we're going to help, be in this town, build small business, and succeed here.
Great, great. Welcome to Wisconsin. Tony, what would you say the factors that made you choose downtown Racine?
Well, the store that I own, Uncorked, was started in downtown Racine in 2004, moved from 6th Street to Main Street in 2008, and is going on 17 years this June. I was a customer from, I think, day 20, not day 1, but day 20, and for about 10 years. And I remember vividly when I was going through the purchase of Uncorked, I had a attorney that was helping me with all the paperwork and stuff. And one of his questions to me was, so are you keeping it in downtown, or are you going to move it out west? Like Mount Pleasant, where I work or where I live. And I said, no, why would I do that? I'm going to keep it in downtown Racine. That is where its lifeblood has been and will continue to be, because that's where all the customers know Uncorked. I would lose so many customers if I moved it outside of downtown Racine. And I am so glad I kept with that and continue to work with all the other business owners in downtown Racine and Kelly. And it's just a community that I will never move it as long as I own it. So.
Thank you for that. Anthony, what would you say when you chose downtown Racine for your business there? Oh, you're on mute.
There we go.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm not that technically savvy here. Basically, in 2015, we added the Indian motorcycle dealership franchise. In discussion with them, we have land in Mount Pleasant that we could have built a brand new building, been close to the interstate and everything like that. But we had the building already downtown, and we kind of had a vision of trying to turn it into like a tourist destination, which was a plan of bringing the motorcycle dealership as well as bringing the restaurant in, because it was already a restaurant that was upstairs that had the kitchen already there, and kind of making a unique building. We wanted to kind of help our community give back a little bit and kind of bolster that down there. Main Street was always vibrant downtown. 6th Street wasn't quite as vibrant. So we decided to move it there. We got Polaris to join in with us and embraced it, brought it to downtown. So now we're celebrating. We just celebrated 6 years with Indian, and now 4 with the Nash.
Great.
So.
And Tamara, same as Tim, coming from a different state, what would you say drew you to downtown Racine? I think you touched on it a little bit earlier in your opening introduction.
Well, I'm actually from a suburb of Milwaukee, so I wasn't from.
Oh, okay.
Not a different. Yeah, just another area. And we had followed my parents are elderly, and we had followed them out here and moved just about a mile and a half from them. So I have never been really here before. And right after I had my daughter, she was like 2 months old. We came down here, and actually I had to go to the eyeglass store next door to us, because that was the place closest to my house to get contacts. And I called my husband and I said, we have got to come to downtown. We're like, it is just, I felt like I was on vacation. And then we came down here as a family and started walking around, and I saw the for lease sign in the window of where our place is now. And I said, let's just call. Let's just, out of curiosity, let's just call. Let's just see. He goes, well, what do you think you're doing? And I said, well, let's just see. I was like, think about this would be perfect. It'd be perfect. The building is huge. The city is incredible. And the more we started researching what was actually happening down here, Mount Royal had come up. And we saw that Tim had been investing and purchasing things, or getting ready to. And then we saw the Indian motorcycle dealership, which is another one where my sister's like, yeah, when we were talking about the city, she's like, because she has been to the dealership. So that was another spot. And then we went down and talked to the marina, and the woman that ran the marina had told us how every year the spots are going up higher and higher and higher. And my husband took some convincing, but I said something is happening here, because it sounds like every year it's getting bigger and the city is growing. And then about a month later, we learned about the Foxconn stuff, and it was a no-brainer from there on out. It was risky looking back, but the city, the community, the support, the DRC, the fellow business owners, we couldn't have picked a better spot.
That sounds like a great, passionate explanation. Thank you. So next question I'm going to ask each of our business owners is going to help our teachers that are logged on, and for when they're teaching in their business, marketing, accounting, or culinary pathway courses. What would you say education, why is education important to the decisions that you made to start your business? And how does it help you grow your business? How would you say education played a part? Tim.
Okay, there's a lot of aspects to running a business, starting a business. There's legal, financial, marketing, operations. Where do you learn those things? So, like I was saying before, that foundation of learning concepts and then applying those in the real world is really big, And I went to school, business administration, and so it helped. It takes it to a whole nother level, of course, when you're out there doing it. But even just to have a cursory, a knowledge of everything. If you know enough about financial, you can hire a CPA and a bookkeeper, but you know how to read those reports. And if you learn about a little bit about technology and a little bit about marketing, you don't have to be a pro at everything. You do use some outsourcing. You use, building a team is huge. You want to have a team of people that can help you and outside companies and everything. But if you get that education of knowing, at least understanding terminology, understanding how things work, you're going to be far ahead of it than just relying on others all the time.
Thank you. Tony, what would you say? How did education make a difference and important in the decisions that you make for your business?
I think that Tim hit it all. I'm going to really reiterate what he said, is that the basic education that I got in high school and then in college when I went through a business management degree was real instrumental in my knowledge of a lot of different things, and being able to get experts to do certain things that I don't have time to do. Because what you find out as a business owner is that you do everything. And most of the times it's cleaning toilets and washing floors and putting up the setting up the banquet hall. It's not working on the books. It's not, but you have to do that too, or else you're going to fail. And you've got to really have a breadth of knowledge that you learn in your basic high school and college degrees and stuff. But I go back to what I started with, is that you've got to be willing to really be a lifelong learner. I've not stopped learning. I continue to go to different courses. I'm using QuickBooks. I took some courses through Webic on QuickBooks. I took some other courses online on QuickBooks. I'm still learning QuickBooks, and I've been using it for 8 years now. So I've got a basic knowledge of accounting, but QuickBooks is a little bit different, and you have to, learn how to use QuickBooks. But it's just an example of one of many things that a business owner has to have their hands in. And back to Tim's point is, you may not be the expert, but you at least understand and can get those experts to help you and be able to say, yep, they do know what they're talking about, and I'm going to trust in them. So that's all.
Thank you, Tony. Anthony, how would you say education is important when you started your business, through continuous learning and the decisions that you make?
They're spot on, both Tim and Tony here, and what they're saying. It's your foundation. I kind of always think about, like, I took accounting in college, and if you think that if you come out of college and geez, I got my degree in accounting, I know everything that there is to know, you're far from it. It is the basic knowledge. And as a small business owner, Tony's right. You got to know a little bit, and Tim's right. You got to know a little bit about everything, so that you can make educated decisions, and learn that path. Education just isn't, as soon as you get done, you're not completely done in knowing and mastering the craft. It takes years and years and years, and you still don't have it mastered when you do it. But you do the best thing you can, and you got to have clear, conscious decisions on what you're doing. Obviously, with all of us dealing with this COVID thing, we've all have been sitting here making decisions on how we're going to adapt. That in our restaurant, we did a lot of changes instantly, foreseeing what was going to happen. Then they get a change on top of the change, and then you got to make another change. And all you can do is progress. And then you have to try and look into the crystal ball. So now all of a sudden you become, a fortune teller and try and predict what's going to be coming your way and have yourself prepared for it. And if you don't, that's when you can get yourself hurt a little bit. So.
Thank you, Anthony. Tamara, what would you say how education was important in the decisions that you're making?
Education, really, we wouldn't have been able to become small business owners without our education. I think we would have had a lot of mistakes and made a lot of poor choices. My husband, like I said, with both of us growing up in the restaurant industry, we understood certain components. But when I went to work for his father, I learned a whole different operation. And that's the financials, it's the HR, it's Uncle Sam, it's everything. And it's something that you have to know and you have to understand. And for me, I was finishing my bachelor's degree at the same time while working for him. So I was very fortunate that I was able to put my business accounting, my human resource class, my business law into actual practice because I was doing it every day at work. And for us now being business owners, we've been able to save ourselves quite a bit of money too, because we were able to do, our in-house accounting and then just send it off, to our accountant quarterly for reviews, which if we had him coming in all the time, I mean, it costs a lot of money. And there's just simple mathematics, especially during this past year, when we had to make decisions for layoffs and closing and opening, and there's a formula, and it's, your food cost is this, and your labor cost is this, and your overhead is this. Well, your doors aren't going to open. It's just, and having that background, I think initially saved us in a sense. And I don't think we could have done this without it. And in fact, I'm actually enrolled in a accounting class again, because there's, like Anthony had said, just when you think you know, you don't know. and it's tough. So I'm actually in an accounting class, getting ready to start one here, and same thing with seminars, social media marketing. I graduated high school in 2000. The internet, we used to have dial-up AOL chat. That's it. Now it's like everything is Facebook, social media, Instagram. And I mean, I use it a little bit. I don't think I'm very good at it. We pay somebody now to do our stuff, but I feel like there's much more to be learned about that whole aspect. So that's, you know, on the docket for this year is seminars and things like that. It's just, you can never not have enough information to help your business succeed and to be relevant with the trends and what's happening out there.
Very true. Continuous learning. Yes. Next question I have on our agenda today, and I'm actually going to start with Kelly, if I could. And this was the topic that we started this idea with. Is we all know 2020 was a very challenging year. So what shifts have you made to survive and thrive, I guess, to say, in this downtown Racine environment? And Kelly, as the executive director of Downtown Racine, what have you seen that has been a major important decision in shifting in the pandemic?
Yeah, so immediately all of these small businesses had to shift, as well as the DRC had to shift the way it supports these small businesses. I think a couple key items were that the businesses that learned to have multiple revenue streams did a lot better. So ones that started to utilize selling online, selling curbside pickup, offering delivery, even though they never would have in the past, doing live social media buying events where people could actually purchase during these live events. Obviously, the outdoor dining options were huge for them. And really, I truly believe it made all of us as a downtown group of a community of business owners actually closer, because we immediately started meeting on a weekly basis, doing these big Zooms where we would have up to 50, 60 people on them. And we continue to do those. And everybody got to know each other, because in the past, we were all so busy running our own businesses that to actually get together a group that large to bounce ideas off of and really talk and chat in an open forum, it never happened before. And so all of a sudden we started getting these mentors for each other, and oh, I can help you with this. Oh, I'll step up. And it was just like everybody rallied by rallying together as a team. Nobody was one for themselves. You know, I think everybody helped rise each other up and get through it. And we continue to have to do that. That's the only way we'll continue to thrive, is by lifting each other up, being a helping hand. I mean, everybody really just went above and beyond. If they were something they could do to help another business, I never saw someone not do it. They were always right there to step up. So kudos to all of the business owners for their positivity during this very dark time in small business entrepreneurship.
Yes, very much so. I'm going to open it up to the other four if you would like to answer that question, because I know that a couple of you touched on it. Was there anything more that you would like to add about how 2020 challenges had you shift your business?
Yeah, I'll say something. So definitely we had to change our business plan quickly last year, and we lease space to small businesses in downtown, quite a few of them. And we immediately had to shift to really working with our tenants. And, in property management, you got to be tough. People got to pay their rent. They got to be on time. We have a pretty strict policies, but we knew early on that we all need to get through this together. So, we've made, some concessions and worked with our tenant clients and that sort of thing. So it's when you see a situation and you can work through it, you do it to help, the people who are, they're basically our clients. We're going to work with them. And then Kelly's, DRC board with the merchant calls really kept us all connected, and you could all see how everybody wanted to be together as a community, and that really helped. It really made us feel like a community, a family, and now it feels like we're starting to come out of that. It was just I think we all kind of knew this is going to be a time period. We'll have a lot of stories to tell about this, but we'll get through it, but we're going to get through it together. So that's how we did it.
And then Tony and Tamara and even Anthony, as part retail, that host, being restaurant culinary, was there any key point where you, like we talked about before, brainstorming new different revenue streams? Was there a piece of that you'd like to share that says this is really what I had to do to make my business survive through 2020?
Well, if I could just jump in real quick here, I agree with everything Kelly said and Tim said, but I may add one thing that what we did is we used to have a lot of wine tasting events. And actually, I'll credit one of my customers came up with this idea and said, like April 1st of last year, that we should do a virtual happy hour. And so we got about 20 different people that joined us that first time, and we had a virtual happy hour. And then somebody said, hey, why don't we do a wine tasting during this time? Another customer said it during one of the happy hours. So then I had a winemaker from, I can't remember where it was, California, that joined us, and we tasted through 4 or 5 bottles of their wine. And that just continued to be a monthly thing. We've had winemakers from all over the world. The best one was a winemaker that took us on a tour of his vineyard in Australia. And we, of course, had to adjust for the fact that he was the next day, and it was noontime for him, and it was 7 o'clock at night for us. But he was, it was at least afternoon, so he helped us and tasted through the wines and had a great time. But I think the key for me is that made me think about the fact that we don't have to actually have a winemaker in the store to do a wine tasting. We can Zoom them in the future. And so I'm planning the next wine tasting that will be at the store, but I'm going to have a winemaker there via Zoom. And also I'm going to adjust a little bit and be able to have people that still don't feel comfortable getting in face-to-face or in person that want to come in on Zoom. I'll allow them to do that via Zoom, and those that want to do it and have been vaccinated come into the store. So this gives me a new model that I can move forward with.
Nice. I didn't think about, virtual wine tasting. We always hear about the virtual happy hours, but obviously our students cannot partake in that right now. With the time, I know that we did have some, some difficulties in the beginning. I'm watching the time very closely. We have about 5 minutes left, but I still wanted our teachers and our other advisory members, if you have any questions for our panelists here, to type them in the Q&A box, and we will make sure to get to those questions. But I think the last question that I had on my list, as we do have several of our teachers on this call attending, what do you, as business owners, and even Kelly, as running the Downtown Racine Corporation, what do you envision with assisting our local community here in Racine that will support the academies of Racine and our teachers in the classroom when we are talking about these career pathways? What do you envision would be helpful for these teachers that are logged on today? I'll just open it up for that last question if anybody has some good input for them. I know it's a tough one, right? How do you engage with the youth and our high schools to have them really understand what downtown Racine is. And you guys talk about it, of that feeling of, oh, that Racine was the choice for you. A part of the career pathways is showing these students that there's opportunity here. They can obtain an education here. They can work for very lucrative businesses here. What would you see you guys supporting the academies other than your time with us here today?
I'll take a little bit of it.
Okay.
And I'll be the first one to bite, I guess. I just saw a stat that came out, like 80% of the people stay in the area in which they're within 20 miles of where they were born. So as you go, so this is our community. Our community is going to be what we make of it. Actually, one of the things came up in this discussion here, and I was reflecting back of like when the pandemic first started and how we all got through it together. And that's why I think people kind of stay within that 20-mile radius, because family and friends are there. It's what you know. We can all be sour on things that are happening, with restrictions and everything like that. Doesn't make me happy, but we have to deal with it and then come together and get through it together. Kelly was talking about that merchant call that we had, that we would have 60 plus things on there. There's things that came up in those things that, hey, I think I can make that work. There's things that say that doesn't work in my environment. That's okay. But the brainstorming factors of it came out. There was things that, without even knowing, I was helping others. Joey Legath, who's a very close and personal friend of mine, in discussion, he got his information on how to do the PPP loan from me. And basically he was having a hard time getting through to his accountant, and I was giving him the rules and the things because I had already been through it. I had to do it 4 times. So I was kind of well versed in it, and it was complicated, and there was a lot of questions. Without the business owners being able to get together and communicate with each other, they can do that. But there's life here in Racine, and I think that the students have to realize that, and make this their home, but put the effort in. I have a saying that life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So take your time, keep on building, and you'll get there. But it doesn't happen overnight.
Very good point. Yes. With our 2 minutes left, we do have oh yes, Shelley, our culinary teacher from Park High School. So this is the one question that was brought up is, I'm hearing business owners say that it's important to have a broad knowledge of several aspects of business management. Her as a culinary teacher, we are told not to cover everything because we just don't have the time. We try to focus on things that go deep into the content of their career pathways. And the question is, what is the 5 main business concepts that you feel are most necessary to incorporate into the high school education? So she's thinking marketing, personal finance, HR, passion, that's skills, that maybe soft skills. But what would you say, because her as a culinary teacher can't teach all that, they do project-based learning with all of the courses, meaning the English, math, science, they all come together for the pathways. But what would you say would be the top business concepts that are most important to incorporate in high school curriculum?
This is Tamara from the Maple Table. I just wanted to say something about that. And it's been a challenge that we're actually facing right now with hiring and things like that, is that they really need to, besides all of the, key points that were mentioned, is teamwork and learning how to work with other people. And that whole word needs to incorporate diversity, different cultures, different genders. It's 2021. It's just the world we live in now. And when we have a business that we're in, for example, a restaurant, one person can't do it themselves. One cook can't do it themselves. One waitress can't do it themselves. It's learning how to respect each other and work with each other, and how to communicate respectfully to each other so that the tasks are completed and that work is delegated properly and that it's done respectfully, and you take everything into consideration when you are working with all different types of people. That was, for me, especially when I had gone back to school, that was one of the biggest things in one of the courses that I took, was just that I can't do this myself and that I need to know how to work with other people.
Yes, yes, Shelley is applauding you with those comments. And we know that professional skills is a very, very important topic. RUSD has developed a professional skills rubric for the Academies of Racine and all of the classes that are being taught. And that is being implemented. I believe it was approved for this year. And it is something that our business partners like to hear, is that we are incorporating those professional skills within all of the curriculum and career pathway courses that are being delivered. I know we're out of time. The rest of our attendees here, I know we have another meeting to jump onto, but I just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody for your time today. And any of the attendees, I will see you guys over in BMAC pretty soon. But to our panelists, thank you so much. If you guys have any questions for myself regarding Academies of Racine or our coaches, just reach out and let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.